All right, hey guys, what's going on? Scott here, and today's tip is vendor access and transparency. When you get your Listflex account set up, you're going to set yourself up as a vendor, and inside of that vendor, you're going to create your lists and all the related details and information on each of those lists. And in almost every case, after you have an account set up, you're going to end up working with a third party or another company that's going to supply you leads and want to pass you data, and you're going to want to set them up separately as their own vendor and their lists inside of their vendor account. But inevitably, they're going to have questions about how many leads have you accepted, or why are you rejecting leads, and wanting some clarification or maybe some help with the API. And in other cases, we have guys that are accepting leads that are working on a rev share relationship where the company is providing them the leads, and then their job is to report back how much money has been made and the appropriate rev share amount. So Listflex solves all those problems and a bunch more for your vendors, and it's really easy to do. So on your dashboard here, you can see all of your lists and the lists of third parties. In this case, the guy's name is Robert. So on the vendor profile here at the bottom, you will see a back office URL, a username, and a password. This is the vendor back office for Robert. Now, it's important to know that the only way Robert will have access is if you give him those credentials. Listflex does not and will not send an email to him letting him know that he does have a back office set up inside of the Listflex account. The only way he's going to have access is if you give it to him. So if you give it to him, here's what that looks like. You can log in. There's a dashboard, reporting, payments, recordings, and Flex ID. On the dashboard for your vendor, you're going to see the lists that you've set up, when you set them up, what niche they're in, how many records you've accepted. You can view the leads here. Your vendor can view the leads, view all the scrub logs, why they were blocked, and see those leads as well. And then really simple things like the API in case they need help with that. There's also reporting where even if you're buying the lead at a flat rate, great, it's going to display how much you owe if it's a flat rate lead. If it's a rev share, it's going to display the appropriate percentage that you set up on the list back to the vendor. The vendor is going to be able to view additional scrub logs and any leads that would have been returned. Listflex has a system that allows clients to return leads, and if for any reason they were submitted and accepted, you'll see the lead returns there. Listflex has a full-blown accounting system. If you made any payments and tracked those inside of Listflex, you'll see them here. Recordings, client side, if a client is calling leads and recording those phone calls, they can then take the recording and attach it to the lead in the client side, and then it'll be available here for the vendor. And then there's Flex ID, and the Flex ID is just the vendor's way of making sure that every lead they're generating has the Flex ID code on the page, of course, for compliance and taking snapshots of the lead. So the back office is really simple, but it's very transparent. It'll give your vendor access to virtually everything that they could need related to all of the leads they posted you, how many, seeing those leads, the scrub logs, integration information, reporting, payments, and if they're in the business of calling leads or caring about recordings, they'll have access to those, and of course Flex ID. So pretty simple, but again, as I mentioned, the most important part here is vendors do not have access unless you provide them access, and the access is right here inside their vendor profile. So if you have any questions on vendor access or transparency and how any of this works, just reach out to us and let us know. Thanks.